My life changed forever the day I walked into that clinic. It was a routine test, something simple, I thought, but I felt a chill as I picked up the envelope with my DNA test results. My wife Emily and I had been married for 17 years, and our children, Claire and Ben, were my world, or so I believed. I tore open the envelope with trembling hands and struggled to make sense of the words. Slowly, the reality hit me. The DNA results proved Claire and Ben weren't my biological children. They were both related to their mother. Yes, but not to me. I felt my heart shatter as the truth settled in. My entire life had been a lie, carefully orchestrated by the person I trusted most. I wasn't the father of the children I'd raised with every ounce of my love and energy. I spent the next few weeks in a daze reliving the memories I thought I shared with Emily. High school sweethearts, we had married young when Emily found out she was pregnant. We'd been inseparable since graduation, or so I thought. I remembered our early days, how she'd been so supportive when I started my small business. But the pieces of her deception started to fall into place, and I realized that even back then, there were signs I'd ignored. Emily's old boyfriend, James, had moved back to town just before we got married. Back then, I didn't think much of it. Young and naive as I was, James was her high school fling, nothing more, right? But as I pieced things together, I realized he'd never left her life entirely, even after we got married and built what I thought was a family. In the days that followed, I faced a choice. Do I confront her, or do I walk away and let her live with her lies? But the thought of my kids, Claire and Ben, who called me dad, haunted me. I couldn't just leave them behind, no matter what their biology said. So I chose confrontation. I confronted Emily one evening after the kids had gone to bed. She looked nervous when I started asking questions, and I saw the panic in her eyes when I revealed that I knew the truth. Her lies unraveled quickly, and she confessed that James was their real father. She'd stayed with me, she claimed, for the stability, the life I'd built for us. I felt a surge of anger and betrayal as she tried to justify years of deception. Emily's words cut deep, as if she'd carefully crafted each one to minimize her guilt. Once the truth was out, my mind shifted to practicalities. I knew I needed to move forward, but how? Emily suggested a quiet divorce, a mutual separation for the kids' sake, but I refused to let her manipulate the situation further. I wanted her lies exposed, not to punish her, but so that the kids would understand why I was walking away. I sought advice, consulted lawyers, and prepared myself for a lengthy legal battle. It wasn't just about the money, it was about regaining control of my life. Through the legal proceedings, I stayed calm, even as Emily fought tooth and nail to keep everything hidden. She knew the kids would look at her differently once they knew, and she feared losing the comfort of the life she'd built off my trust and hard work. The day finally came when we sat Claire and Ben down. Emily was silent as I spoke. I explained gently but firmly that there had been mistakes and secrets that had changed things for us all. I told them that, regardless of biology, I loved them as if they were my own, and always would. I watched as the weight of the truth hit them, the confusion, the betrayal evident in their eyes. Emily tried to soften it, telling them that families sometimes change, and that people can still care about each other, even when life doesn't go as planned. But I knew she was only trying to salvage her own image. At that moment, I realized that the real family I had wasn't just about blood, but about trust, loyalty, and love. The truth had torn us apart, yet it had also given me the strength to start anew. Looking back, I feel a mix of sadness and relief. My life had been built on lies, but I was finally free from them. I moved forward with a fresh start, no longer weighed down by the pretense of the past. I stayed connected to Claire and Ben, who, despite everything, still saw me as a father figure. As painful as it was, I knew this experience had taught me to value honesty and integrity above all else. Now I live a life rooted in those values, and while the scars remain, they remind me of the strength I found in reclaiming my life. The judge's face remained stern as he turned back to address us. Usually I take time to weigh both sides, but this case is so straightforward that a clear ruling is warranted, he announced. Given the fraudulent basis of the marriage, I am annulling it, effective immediately. In the eyes of the court, there was never a marriage between Mr. and Mrs. Williams. The room fell silent, Emily's expression a mix of anger and fear. The judge continued, all assets will be divided proportionately according to contributions, with Mr. Williams receiving 90% based on his financial support throughout this arrangement. The house, however, will be sold, with proceeds split equally. I glanced at Emily, whose frustration was evident. She hadn't expected the court to side so strongly with me. The next matter was custody, and I could feel Claire and Ben tensing beside me. The judge addressed Clary first. Given your age and the heartfelt statements shared here today, I grant you the right to choose where you'd like to reside. Since you are filing for emancipation, you may live with your grandparents while this is processed, and in a year you'll be able to legally decide for yourself. A tear slipped down Emily's cheek as Clary squeezed my hand, relief softening her face. Their relationship had long been strained, but I hadn't realized just how deeply Clary's resentment ran. Seeing Emily's reaction, I knew she'd finally come to terms with the consequences of her choices. The judge turned to Ben. You're still a minor, and as such, I must act in your best interest, he explained. Since living with Mrs. Williams would be harmful to your well-being, I'll grant Mr. Williams guardianship, with child welfare oversight to ensure a healthy environment. Ben nodded, visibly relieved, while Emily looked away, hiding her expression. Jimmy, standing beside her, seemed equally defeated. It was clear they hadn't anticipated this outcome. As the hearing closed, Clary gave me a reassuring smile, and Ben wrapped his arms around me. Our family had been battered, but at that moment, I felt a renewed sense of strength and unity. We left the courtroom together, ready to rebuild. Emily had tried to reach out a few times since, but Clary made it clear that the door was closed, her bond with her mother irreparably damaged. Ben was gentler, but even he kept a distance, needing time to heal. In the months that followed, we found a new rhythm together. The scars from the betrayal remained, but slowly we started to find joy in our daily lives. Counseling sessions helped, allowing us to voice our hurt and work through it. We spent time hiking, watching movies, and simply being together, strengthening the bond that Emily's choices had threatened to sever. And while the pain lingered, the love and trust we shared began to grow once more, forging a new beginning out of a fractured past. This story dives into the tangled emotions of betrayal, revenge, healing, and acceptance. After a devastating betrayal by his wife, the protagonist faces a bitter divorce that shatters the family. Custody battles, emotional scars, and animosity taint his connection with Emily, his ex-wife, as well as with their children, Clary and Ben. Through it all, the protagonist fights to maintain stability and support his kids while trying to shield them from the emotional fallout. Initially, Emily gains custody of Ben, causing a severe rift between mother and son. Meanwhile, Clary's resentment grows as she cuts all ties with her mother. The protagonist's anger festers, making him obsessed with seeking revenge. However, he ultimately realizes the toll this is taking on his own mental health. Therapy becomes his lifeline, helping him process his pain and regain control. His focus turns to rebuilding his life with his children, who in turn support him through his darkest moments. As the protagonist rebuilds his life and finds love again, he begins to see things from a different perspective. With therapy and the support of his children, he gradually lets go of his anger toward his ex-wife, Emily, and finds acceptance. This journey reaches a turning point when Emily reaches out, hoping to reconnect with Clary and meet her grandchildren. However, Clary remains unmoved by her mother's desire for reconciliation. She has long let go of any anger and instead feels nothing. Indifference where once there was hurt. This emotional distance serves as a powerful reminder of the consequences of past choices. For Emily, who once chose her own interests over her family, the damage is irreparable. She's left to face a reality where apologies can't mend old wounds or rebuild lost trust. The protagonist, now free from his own resentment, sees the wisdom in Clary's detachment, understanding that sometimes the natural consequences of one's actions become their own form of justice. In the end, the protagonist realizes that Emily's suffering is a consequence of her own choices. While he once desired revenge, he now understands that life itself has dealt her a harsher punishment than he ever could. Emily is left to bear the regret of losing her family, faced with the painful truth that no apology can erase the past or repair the damage she caused. Through this revelation, The protagonist finds a path to true healing. He learns that peace comes not from vengeance, but from releasing bitterness and focusing on the people who truly care about him. Surrounded by love and support, he moves forward, embracing a future free from the shadows of resentment, while Emily remains bound by the consequences of her actions. Reflecting on the choices they each made, the protagonist closes this chapter of his life with newfound peace, having chosen love and acceptance over anger. His final realization, that Emily's misery is self-inflicted, brings him closure, proving that some battles are best left unfought. Thanks for watching, friends. If you enjoyed today's story, please give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Goodbye for now, and I'll see you in the next video.